between a blessing and a punishment. Sometimes what looks like a punishment is actually a blessing. And the other way around. If Kṛṣṇa had given money and fame and followers and all this stuff, I may have never finished my sadhana. It's quite likely. Huh? Just like my godbrothers. They have all these big temples and lots of money and all these followers and all this stuff and all these problems. And they never get around to finishing their sadhana. Or they fall down, but they still maintain their position. I knew one sannyasi in India. He was like a vice president of a temple, big temple, one of the biggest, wealthiest temples in India. And he was addicted to heroin. He would go to a certain very special pan stall and get pan that had, you know, what they call Bombay Brown. So, you know, on the outside, he looked very respectable, nice sannyasi, preaching and like that. He even had disciples and so on like that. You know? But all the time he was breaking the principles. You see, because of desire. You know, you don't get to that point in life. You don't get to be a sannyasi initiated by Srila Prabhupada unless you have some strong desire. But then to turn around and use that position for sense gratification, this is very bad. And it always comes out in the end. Or the person gets the result. This devotee, he got sick with cancer and he had to leave his body, and I don't know if he ever finished his sadhana. I doubt it. So Kṛṣṇa is giving the results of all our activities. Therefore, we have to desire purely. If we don't desire purely, then we're sunk, we're lost. Kṛṣṇa will give that desire, or maybe, if he gives that desire, then it will distract us from our real spiritual life, and we'll fail or we'll fall down. So watch the mind. Act from the intelligence, not from the mind. The mind is always going to come up with so many nonsense things. Oh, you can get money, and then you can engage it in Krishna's service by preaching. You know, knowing full well that you're going to spend it on sense gratification. Right? So the mind is tricky like that. But if you use your intelligence, you'll say, well, actually, I don't need that much money. I only need half. So I shouldn't do this plan. I should do this other plan that leaves me more time for sadhana, or more time for preaching, or whatever my engagement is. Just like we never put any energy into fundraising. Have you noticed that? It's not like we send out all these emails, please give money. We never do that. In fact, we even refused. Navayovana, when he first joined, he wanted to give all this money. I said no. He could never understand why. So many people come to our website and they register, and if they do anything wrong, we kick them out. Well, why? Why? This is all about quality. Quality of service, quality of intention. See? Quality of participation in our association. We don't just take anybody and everybody. And we don't just ask for, you know, give us money. No, you have to be engaged in service to have the privilege of making a donation for this movement. You have to be like a university student. You see? You have to be doing something. You have to be active devotee. You have to be pure in your intention. We have various devices that we use to make sure that people are pure in their intention before they can participate beyond a certain level. Otherwise, what are they doing? They're simply creating anarthas. We don't want that. So we're protecting them actually from their own foolishness, from their own anarthas. Any more questions? No. Okay.
Theo is preaching.
What? What's that?
Theo is preaching.
He's preaching.
Right there, right now. Right there, right now.
Oh, man.
My question is, in your experience, has any study of psychology helped in removing anarthas, or does it all come by the scriptures?
I think psychology is very confusing because psychology takes the point of view, or begins from the point of view that the mind is everything. You know? And I think psychology could be a useful extension of the science of consciousness. But without the science of consciousness, it's of very limited value and might even lead us astray. You know, like there are a lot of devotees, or not a lot, but there are a few devotees now that give different kind of seminars that are based on psychological or, you know, business principles, you know. And these are okay, I guess, you know, but it seems like there's very limited spiritual content, and they're not starting from the science of consciousness. They're starting from, you know, 3 principles for happy living or something like that. Well, what does that have to do with spiritual life? It's basically some kind of compromise for dealing with your mind. And we don't buy that, because we know from experience the mind just wants to engage you in the service of the senses. That's the building. That's the business of the mind. That's the duty of the mind. The mind is to say, "Hey, look out! You know, this is a dangerous situation. You have to be aware." That's the business of the mind. Or, "Oh, there's an opportunity to enjoy." You know, that's the mind. That's why people like dogs so much, because the dogs act a lot like the mind. But we have to rise above the mind. We have to come from the point of view of intelligence. And intelligence, spiritual intelligence, begins from the knowledge of the spirit soul and consciousness. So unless our psychology is based on that, it's a very, very limited value. You know, it's mostly, psychology is mostly about getting some material advantage. You know, did anybody ever watch Sopranos? You ever watch Sopranos? It's such a funny show because it's such a funny show. I watched one thing on the web one time just to see what it was, because, you know, everywhere you hear bada bing, bada bim, whatever it is. So I had to watch it and see what it was about. And the premise of the show is really, it's kind of funny, you know. You have this hard-boiled New Jersey mafia don seeing a psychiatrist. At every show or every other show, he's going to his psychiatrist and asking, you know, some question. And then she gives him some answer. And then he goes and implements this answer in a way that fits his psychology, right? Well, the episode I saw, he's going, you know, my boys just don't respect me like they used to. You know, it's like they don't think I'm tough no more or something like that. And she goes, well, they know what you show them. And he goes, yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, thanks. Right? And then he goes home, he goes to the gang hideout, right? And he just picks on some young punk, you know, and then just like beats the heck out of him. And then he goes in the bathroom and throws up. You see, because this is psychology. See, the person, she's giving some psychological maxim, right? People know of you. What people know of you is what you show of yourself, right? And he's taking that into his little twisted world. And he's turning this into, okay, that means I got to go beat somebody up, so that they think I'm tough. You see, this is like all of us are like this. So whatever good advice we get, whether it's from psychology or even from spiritual life or from shastras or whatever, we're going to interpret it within the purview of our little world and our values. Now, this is why it's so important for us to understand Krishna's point of view, to understand Krishna's ontology. What does Krishna consider important? What does Krishna want? And we'll find it always comes down to giving up our desires for material existence and cultivating a desire for spiritual existence. It always comes down to that, And from the very